When I decided to buy and try this camera, I told myself one thing. If this camera makes me love taking pictures again, I'll keep it. Yeah, it's safe to say that actually happened. The TikTok darling camera got some key upgrades in the video department which made me interested, but the classic Fujifilm picture taking experience made me fall in love. And despite a few little quibbles here and there, I just might be holding my new favorite EDC and travel camera. Hey, it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? Here's what worked and what didn't with the Fujifilm X100VI, with a word from the sponsor of this video, LG, and their aesthetically pleasing LG CineBeam Q. Now, before we get into this, I need to let you know that this isn't going to be like a technical breakdown of the Fujifilm X100VI. There are plenty of other creators and websites that have put this camera in front of color charts and have done dynamic range testing and all of that, and I genuinely recommend that you check those videos out after this one. I'm taking this video as an opportunity to simply share my experience with this camera, which has been positive and very fun. That is due in part to just how good this camera looks. It's basically a fashion statement in and of itself. I can't even begin to tell you how often I've seen the previous version of this camera on the hips of my photographer friends, making it as much an accessory in their wardrobes as their watches or necklaces. Seriously, few cameras end up being as easy to reach for to finish an outfit. Now, I know this is basically the same look the X100 has had for a long time, and some people might be itching for a change, but it's still fresh to me and probably many people who are coming into cameras because of Fujifilm's latest statement right here. Not to mention all the people who still enjoy this look and would be happy to have it again. Now, commendably, it's not all fashion and no substance. Despite the smaller stature of the X100VI compared to a lot of my other cameras, all of the controls that classic photographers might want are here. There might even be too many of them. Buttons are constantly within reach of one's right hand, from the controls near the thumb to the extra shortcut buttons and levers near the index and middle fingers. It's dials galore, even dials under dials, and you can set any of them to turn off so that the more modern controls, like these dials, still can control the various settings. It might be a little bit finicky at times, especially for anyone not already familiar with this level of control, so there might be a bit of a learning curve, but Fujifilm deserves credit for providing all of this tactility when plenty of larger cameras just don't have that. And once you figure out what your configuration is, like for me, I like to actually use mainly the dials instead of the wheels, well, you're off to the races. Simply put, aesthetic matters, and the previous Fujifilm camera kind of proved that. So, getting more of that is a win here. But you know what else has a great aesthetic? A new portable projector that is as much an art piece as it is a TV. I'm talking about the LG CineBeam Q, which I do have here courtesy of LG, who are also the sponsor of this video. And by the way, all of the footage you're about to see was taken on the X100VI. Looking for a small 4K projector that looks as good as the image it projects? Look no further than the aesthetically pleasing LG CineBeam Q by the sponsor of this video, LG. Now, this is a supremely portable projector that sports a 360-degree stand that doubles as a handle. Simply carry it wherever you need, plug right in, and then set the same handle down to angle the bulb to where you need it. And when the CineBeam Q is turned off, it looks just as good as any artsy decor that you might have around it. But of course, the projector puts out a great image because of the 4K RGB laser within. The result is a vivid, sharp, and detailed 4K resolution image that can get up to 120 inches in size. This RGB laser tech is significant because it results in vivid colors at a 450,000 to 1 contrast ratio. So you get vivid colors, clear details, and deep blacks, which make it great for just about any kind of media, whether played from the WebOS software that's built in or via the HDMI connectivity that is found right on the back of the unit. It's easy enough to put the projector just to the side of where I'm sitting, with the keystoning and auto screen adjustment making it look correct on the screen that is in my office. But of course, the CineBeam Q is made to move, and I brought it on a recent trip with me to get a better image and all of the streaming apps that I could want in a display that is much larger than the TVs in the hotel room. And seriously, the 4K image is really impressive, given how compact and well designed this projector is. The amount of performance here rivals that of other 4K projectors, which makes this a premium offering amongst other small portable units. To check out the LG CineBeam Q for yourself and get a bit of an art piece that can project art pieces, head to the links in the description and in the pinned comment below. And thanks again to LG for sponsoring this video. I have to admit, it's not all sunshine with this good-looking camera. The compact construction of the X100VI does have some concessions, and the ones that I personally contend with are with the touchscreen. Now, the touchscreen isn't bad per se, it's actually quite responsive, but it's simply not my favorite way of navigating any camera. The capacitive touchscreen does open up a few more shortcuts, but with all of the dials and buttons available, I didn't really need to rely on it. Personally, I ended up going to the little Q menu that's over here, and then using the dials to change things up from there. And as far as quibbles on this screen are concerned, concerned, it doesn't pop out. It only just angles up or down. You can call this one just me being a snooty YouTuber, but I think that the video camera capabilities on here are pretty great. Unfortunately, this is just not going to facilitate this being a good talking head or A-roll camera. The reason why this gets me all a little crabby is because the alternative to the touchscreen is not my favorite methodology either. There are a few buttons here on the back portion of the camera which get you to the menus, and you can go back, obviously go over to all of the pictures that you've been taking. But aside from that, you're kind of left with this four-way joystick. It's thin, it's pointy, sometimes it just doesn't feel like it's going in the direction that I want, and ultimately, it's just the least comfortable concession that this smaller body provides. It's functional, to be fair, but it's just not very much fun to use at all, and I actually find myself missing a full 4-button directional pad here. What I definitely know is still a sore point for a number of shooters is the I/O. Opening up this flap over here, you can see that the headphone jack is still a 2.5mm jack, making it necessary to use adapters or special cables. The same goes for this micro HDMI port. I have not broken smaller HDMI ports, but I hear people talk about it all the time. And finally, there's the fact that the SD card slot is down here where the battery is, which makes it tough to either swap the batteries or to remove the media if you are using tripod plates a lot. These are all things that I know just have to be a reality because of the size and construction of the X100VI, but that doesn't change the fact that they're kind of annoying regardless. Despite all of those quibbles, the main reason why you get this camera remains the reason why the camera is so beloved. Taking pictures with this camera is simply a joy. As I said before, I'm not trying to do a super deep dive into the pictures or the footage, nor would I really pixel peep too much. Instead, I'm just going to throw a lot of pictures up and let them speak for themselves. What makes the Fujifilm experience so unique are the film simulations, which provide iconic looks to all pictures that you'd otherwise achieve by throwing the raw files into post-processing software, and even then, you may not have exactly what you need in order to achieve these looks. Is that to say you could get these kinds of results using other cameras? You possibly could with enough elbow grease and a bunch of LUTs, but to build it all into this camera like this means that the Fujifilm cameras just make you feel like you can't take a bad picture. Very few other cameras really make you feel that way. And the actual feeling of bringing up the camera to your face and looking through the rangefinder just has this nostalgic feeling that I barely feel in any of my other cameras. Now, the actual displays are fine, from the LCD to the OVF that you can actually make pop up like this to show you the actual output of the camera once you take that picture. I know this is not really a new feature, but it's really cool still to me that you can turn the OVF on and off. So if you're looking through the rangefinder and you're just sort of figuring out how to frame your photo, and then you pop on the OVF to see what the final product will look like, it's just a really fun and unique shooting experience. Now, the 40 megapixel sensor, along with the 23mm f2.0 aperture lens, is a great combination for everyday picture taking, as the effective 35mm focal length is not just my favorite focal length, but I truly think it is one of the most versatile. You have enough depth of field to get wide but still nice portraits, and just enough space that you can get landscapes if you have the room to move around enough. A digital teleconverter gets you farther focal lengths, of course, at the expense of the total picture sizes, and there is another way of getting other effective focal lengths with physical converters, both for wide and tele. I actually got the teleconverter mainly so I could get better B-roll using this camera, as the digital converters for telephoto were enough for me in terms of photos. But one thing that really makes this a real upgrade from the previous model is the IBIS, the in-body image stabilization. This results in easier captures at slower shutter speeds, which is good for lower light situations. The IBIS is certainly a huge boon for the video shooter in me, alongside the built-in ND filter. These are two features that together just mean I don't need to think about bringing extra things along most of the time. Things like maybe gimbals or stabilizers, and of course, actual physical ND filters. Those are things I might have to bring with me or have on hand with cameras that are even bigger than the X100VI. All of this being built into this small camera is kind of a feat. So yes, there are a bunch of different film simulations, most of which have been around for a long time. Classic Chrome is one that I keep seeing online as a great all-around look, and that is definitely what I used pretty often early on. That is until I got around to the Raylia Ace simulation. It just looks really nice to me with its higher vibrancy but softer overall contrast. If anything, it informs me on what kind of look I might go for via pictures taken on other cameras, including on smartphones. And that's one thing I have to give Fujifilm so much credit on. Whether you're a seasoned photographer or coming into this world fresh, these cameras with their simulations and abilities are like a crash course in photography, and it's all in a compact body. So I'm clearly a fan of the picture taking experience on here, and I happily have the camera around my shoulder so that I can pick it up at any point and just snap away. The only thing I don't like about this experience, and maybe I should have known this going in, is that the shutter sound and the feel of the shutter is just lacking. I will admit right now that this is a super personal and super picky thing, but when the picture taking experience is so good, I want to feel as if I'm actually doing it. That means hearing and feeling the shutter or the shutter curtain hitting, and that's basically absent on here. There's just a lack of tactility, a lack of just the feel or the sound, or really the feel at that crucial moment when you're taking a photo that is just missing here, and I actually find myself missing it from other cameras. At the very least, I can emulate a hard shutter sound electronically still, but it's still an aspect I just wanted to mention here. That sound though, once you go to the max volume, it kind of helps. Alright, so a while back I wanted to get into compact cameras, and I was looking at a few options, including the X100VI. Now the homie, Mark Linsangen, who is just killing it on YouTube right now, make sure you go check out his channel, advised me that I should look at these cameras for photography rather than for making YouTube videos. He was basically inviting me to just have a more open mind. Instead, maybe I should just get back into just taking pictures for a hobby and not just for camera tests and whatnot. While I agreed with him, and I ended up getting a Ricoh GR3X at the time, that has since been sold because Fujifilm apparently heard my prayers and decided to go in on the video capabilities. Fujifilm made sure to put as much ability as possible in here with 4K up to 30 without a crop, 4K 60 with a small crop, and then you have a high quality oversampled 4K coming down from the 6.2K resolution that is possible here, and that one also comes with a bit of a crop. Now that oversampling in particular has been great to utilize for a little bit more focal reach, which gets even better for B-roll when I throw on the official teleconverter. It's not my favorite way of achieving around 60mm of effective focal length on demand because you have to screw it on and off of the actual body, but when I'm in the B-roll mode for product videos for my YouTube channel, I do just leave it on there and I get all of my footage fairly easily because of the stabilization. When I'm out and about and I don't really want to have the teleconverter on me, I still get plenty of good B-roll handheld when using the 23mm lens on its own. And yes, everything looks great to my eyes because of the film simulation. So yes, everything you might love about the film simulations and photo taking just smoothly transitions over to video, which I think is fantastic. The results of this good video capturing capability puts this compact camera in somewhat rarefied space. It's a super compact camera that is super travel friendly, but manages to provide both photo and video shooting with results that almost anyone can appreciate. The only limitations that the camera has are inherent to its form factor. I mean, there's a lack of interchangeable lenses, obviously. You have to use the converters, and like I said, you have to screw them on or off. The I/O does require some workarounds, and having no pop-out screen means that this might not be the go-to camera for talking head A-roll. The other thing that is a big quibble for me is getting to the manual video mode. Going over here, I have to actually turn on the drive selector here and constantly go between still image and movie in order to get both photos and videos all in one shoot. I did program this one single button up here to start recording video, but then it does it in an auto setting rather than at the settings that I want if I went over to movie mode. So there's a little bit of a give and take there. Like you might lose just like a second or two just trying to get to the other mode that you want depending on the scenario you want to shoot. But just as much as these cameras have been beloved by street photographers, now it's a great video companion in the hands of any capable shooter. You've even been seeing vertical footage from this camera that I used on a number of different reels recently and on a recent work trip, and I thought it did great. The IBIS isn't the best I've ever used, but I'm generally steady to begin with, so the end result was usually good enough or just needed a small post-processing stabilization adjustment. Very little is keeping me from making this the only camera that I bring with me when I'm out and about, but as I alluded to just a second ago, the camera's compact priorities also mean it's a bit less versatile for my needs. There are small interchangeable lens cameras that are still more practical to use in more involved shoots, and then there's the whole argument that the smartphone or specialty camera in your pocket might be enough to get that vertical social media video done anyway. The way that I need to work around a few things in the X100VI could sometimes make me want to use something else, which is to say it's not a perfect camera, but then again, no camera is. Clearly, a lot of the love for the X100 series comes down to feel. How does it feel to get that photo? And even more importantly, how does it feel to view the photo after you've shot it? I've known Fujifilm to have some rabid fans, and I've always intellectually understood why that was the case. But it's different from actually, well, feeling it. But I commend Fujifilm for trying to bridge as many gaps as possible with this iteration, to the point that this hybrid shooter actually paid attention and then decided to keep the camera as part of his kit. Because it all came down to the same notion that I had at the beginning. If this camera makes me love taking pictures again amongst the sea of smartphones and even other cameras that I already have, then I'll keep it. Well, you can color me convinced. And so, there you have it, the Fujifilm X100VI. I get it now. And if you are watching this video and you have this or any other X100 camera, I know you get it too. Let me know what your experience has been like in the comment sections downstairs, and tell me what film simulation you use. Give me some tips. I'm actually really happy to dive into this camera and to actually use it more often, even if it's not going to be the one that I use for literally everything. I want to give one more shout out to the sponsor of this video, LG, and their aesthetically pleasing LG CineBeam Q. I have links to the new powerful yet lovely 4K projector in the description below as well. From there though, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for kicking it with me again today. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and enjoy your tea, everybody.